Hello, hello. It's been a minute. I'm trying out some new software here and see if we can go over a few items, go over a few knickknacks and see what's going on in these markets. It's been a minute since we covered them. I think my machine here is currently running live. I've never used this software before, but from people in the know, I have heard that it is the one to use. I'm going to see on my phone if it's working, and it is. Yep, it is working. It is working fine. Cool. All right. I'm gonna start using my browsers here in the background. See if I can get a few things pulled up we can talk about. It is working fine. Cool. All right. Start using my browsers here in the background. It looks like it's working fine. No problem at all. Cool. Nice. Should have been using this in the a long time ago. I used to use StreamYard, which is honestly kind of garbage compared to this. Cool. So, old faithful coin that we used to look at and still do look at is this hex on Ethereum. I have talked about in the online circles and Twitter and things like that that I think that this hex on Ethereum is going to end up becoming the master again. This is end up going to become the dominant chain within the hex ecosystem for a lot of reasons that I've tweeted about, but mainly it has to do with the pumpability of this coin compared to, say, Pulse Chain that everybody got into. And let me just take this over here so you can see it. I know my head is in the way. I probably should resize my head, honestly. Yeah, my head's a little big here. Let me resize it just a bit so we can see the good stuff. And this stuff sure is cheap historically, based on what it has been. It could be, could have put in a bottom down at this 001 level. Who's to say? But I still ultimately think that the whole pulse chain diversion was a capital allocation extraction scheme designed to concentrate or reconcentrate power back into the core coin. It doesn't make any economic sense to take all of your capital and distribute it over multiple coins. That's not how you get massive pumps. And the entire point of this whole thing was massive pumps. And so I still think that EHEX is going to come back and become the master. So another coin that I have been, another couple of coins that I've been interested in. I've been interested in RSR, reserve rights. A lot of people will talk badly about it because it's a governance token. But I do think that stablecoins ultimately have a very large place in the cryptocurrency ecosystem as a whole. I feel like they're going to become very dominant because they actually have economic utility. Okay, a lot of these free floating, unbacked crypto coins do not have economic utility. You can't take out loans with a coin that constantly crashes and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't work. That's the whole point of this thing, is to be able to, supposed to be able to conduct economic activity with it, but we don't see a whole lot of that. But this reserve rights, you've got people like Peter Thiel and who's the AI guy? I can't remember his name, but several of those folks are pretty highly invested in this token. And stablecoins just make sense. I know y'all have seen me talk about stablecoins in the past, and it's hard to discuss exactly which one is going to end up taking off. But the high on this token, this governance token, which the economics of which are a little muddy, but something's got to happen with this ecosystem. Does it mean that the governance token is going to go to the moon? I don't know. It's hard to say, but the future is in stablecoins. You've got to understand that for sure. The writing is on the wall. I also like the Zcash token. It is. We got BMA talking about silver. Honestly, I'm not. I don't disagree with you. That's something that we should talk about is silver because we'll take a look at the gold chart here in a minute. Nice to see you, BMA. I do think you are correct. It's nice to see somebody pop in here. It's been years, folks. It's been years since I've been on this thing, but I've got some reason to get back in here. So here we are. This is Zcash. The thing about Zcash, what it is it is a version, very similar code base in some ways, very similar architecture in some ways. The economic architecture is identical to Bitcoin. It is a volume is a little low. That's not good. Wonder how I fix that. Let me see. In my audio mixer, it looks like it's pretty loud, and when I was talking on my phone, it was pretty loud. Let me check in my. Yeah, the audio is kind of not that great, is it? Yeah, well, audio is not amazing. Let me see if I can edit the audio mixer. Appreciate you cluing me into that enigma. This mic system is not the best. I don't see a mixer here. Oh well. Um, be better if I had a real mic, would it not? I've got two little old school. Here we go. There's my volume. My volume. Oh well. I don't see. Let me see. It's not clipping. Let me try to turn it up a little bit. Hello, hello. Testing, 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 testing. All right, we're starting to clip right there. Let me see what this sounds like on my end. See if anybody commented what that did to the audio. Okay, it sounds good now from David Morales. I sure appreciate you. Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Checking out my equalizer. Checking out the equalizer. It looks fine. It looks like it's just getting loud enough to not clip. So we'll leave it at that for a while if y'all have any more problems with it. I definitely appreciate you letting me know. Y'all are awesome. Back to Zcash. This stuff, it's economically, from an economic model, it's the same thing as Bitcoin. 21 million coins, mining, halving cycle, blocks, all this kind of stuff. It works the same. The difference being that Zcash is private, and it's very private. It's a true encrypted currency, and it is from what I understand, is the largest market cap private currency. I say that I don't believe Monero is a private currency. Monero uses decoys and mixing systems to operate. It's not private. It's like throwing a bunch of marbles in a cup and spinning them around and dumping them back on the table and saying, "Look, they're mixed up." Yeah, well, you've got a good enough video camera, you might be able to keep track of what's going on with that. So, I don't trust Monero. Um, Tornado Cash within Ethereum is very similar to Zcash. They both use the ZK Snark encryption technology, which is nice. But I think Zcash is much more robust than the ETH Tornado, at least when I helped put the ETH Tornado system together. They may have changed it by now, but the way the Zcash architecture is now, I think it's more robust. And if anybody actually wants to do any real finance, which kind of hard to do with an unbacked cryptocurrency anyway, but look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's $100,000 and it's unbacked, and they're still using it. So obviously, my view on backing versus unbacking doesn't hold a lot of weight because Bitcoin is really exploding in the real financial markets. Um, Something like Zcash is just it's on my radar for sure. It's definitely on my radar. The BMA mentioned silver. Let's check out PaxG. See what PaxG is doing. PaxG is the crypto gold version, or the crypto version of gold. It's a token that's backed by gold, and this stuff is just going parabolic, absolutely parabolic. It's frighteningly so. Y'all probably remember me talking about gold back in 2020s, back when it was 1500. It's gone up more than double in that time period. It's just absolutely radical, absolutely radical. Um, see if I can get anything to come up here. Silver, though, has been a little laggy. Very laggy, in fact. I bet the gold silver ratio is probably around 100 right now. Let's try SI one up. See if it comes up. Come on, little fella. SI one up. Let's do that. Let's give that a shot. See what silver's looking like. Serena Alonzi, hello. Long time no see. I hope you're still holding onto those stakes. I assume you are, as am I, still holding Hex stakes. In fact, it is my largest crypto position by a wide margin. Didn't start out that way, but it became that way, and I haven't been monkeying with it. It just sits there and cooks. And what's that meme? Let it cook. And that's what's going on. So silver here is just, I mean, it just looks like it wants to run old-fashioned cup and handle, just like gold, except the gold cup and handle is already blown off and blown away. This one is still forming. This is cool. I like that I can draw on TradingView with y'all here. So we can kind of play around this lark system here. I mean, it's just textbook. We've got a little bit of a blow off here, but come up, come down. And some people would redraw this and show that the cup was, there's my thing. They would redraw and show it, the cup as being down here. I don't think I believe that. I think silver still needs to cook a little bit. It may dip here again to form a more perfect handle, kind of a dip here, maybe through the rest of 25. Let me draw that. It's hard to say though, but gold's chart is a lot prettier than silver's. Silver's is a little strange, honestly. It's gold is more textbook. Silver is like, what is going on here? Does this work? Yeah, there we go. There we go. So we can kind of assume that silver could do something like that, and it may not. You know, it may not need to. It may not need to dip like this. I mean, it may. It may not. Serena says it's been a long time. Yes, it has, and she is still staked. 5 5 5 5. That's five. No, that's four fives. Cuatro cinco. And those things cook every day. They sit there and build up every day. And it's nice, in my opinion, it's nice that the APR has been nerfed so strongly because the people that were. No, my studio disconnected. Why did that happen? Reconnection successful. All right, good. Reconnection successful. Stop streaming. It looks like it's still going. Good. Put it in log mode. And, this chart is actually going back a pretty long way. Put it on the weekly just to kind of blow it out a little bit. This is the first time I've streamed with an active desktop. And I kind of like it. It gives a lot of context to what we're talking about. Usually it's just my face. But here we've got a little bit of context. And I love drawing on TradingView. I mean, what's better? Let's just turn our magnet here on. Magnet mode on. We're going to put a strong magnet. And let's run a line through here and see what we can see. Not super straight, is it? Let's blow this line out left and right, extend left, extend right, and see what she looks like. See, it looks like we got a lot of touch points here. We got a fake out move. It's interesting. I want to zoom in. Quiet trading. Oh, TradingView has locked me out because I've overstayed my welcome. Thanks. Thanks, TradingView. I don't think I'm logged in right here. What a disaster. Anyway, let me get back to the Hex USD because it looks like we're on a resistance line there, and I want to inspect it now that we're talking about it. I think I'm gonna end up making the stream absurdly long just for the heck of it. Just for the heck of it, make it absurdly long. Because why not? Man, that is a chart. That is one heck of a chart. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And what will be even more unbelievable is if it actually recovers. This thing looks like a penny stock, and usually these penny stocks just trend to zero. And if this thing does come out alive, it's going to be incredible. It really is. But it wouldn't surprise me if we needed to flush more people out before then. Flush out the, what's it called? The sell pressure, as Richard called them. So we've got a pretty clean trend line here. I'm sure y'all have seen 10 million people draw the exact chart that I'm drawing right now, but this false breakout right here, that probably got a lot of people excited. Right around 7 cents, so it blew off from about 5 to 8 cents. I bet a lot of people. I wish we had a volume. Do you have a volume indicator? I'd like to see how many people were buying right there. This may not have a volume. Okay, thanks, trading. Thanks. Thank you for being like that. Anyway, we don't have a volume, but we tried to break out again here back in. Man, this is a weekly chart. This chart is not even up to date. Anyway, yeah, this isn't even an updated chart. This thing thinks that the current price is 003. This only goes to, yeah, thanks, TradingView. Anyway, we're not doing moment by moment analysis anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. But I wonder where I can go. I'll have to go to pulsecoinlist.com. And I'm shutting you down over here, Mr. Computer. You're done. Good night. All right, back to this one. Let's get a proper chart loaded. Now, this one doesn't have the history of the other one, so I'm not nearly as impressed by it. I like that old history going all the way back to the beginning of existence. This one just doesn't go back that far, so it's not so moving comparatively. But, anyway, I just wonder when it's going to take off. It's been a long time, folks. It's been years, and this stuff is still continuing to flounder to many people's disdain. But turn our magnet on and draw a few cute lines, even though we don't have a lot of history here. I don't think this chart is going to be incredibly useful, just because the history is so lacking. It's almost worthless. Yeah, so there we go. Potential for this thing to trend sideways until it hits this line, but again, I don't think this trend line is accurate anyway. So it's whatever. But I do think that this E-hex is going to be the master chain again, just because the pumpability is so much higher. The liquidity is lower. Let's see if it even shows what our hex. See, I don't know if this liquidity number, it says 2 million in liquidity. I don't know if that is on the pulse chain or if this liquidity is being taken from Ethereum. I assume that it's on the pulse chain. It's like the wrapped hex version, wrapped hex on pulse chain, but you really don't know. It looks like regular pulse chain, the free copy version of hex is up 55% in the last week, and the original hex is up 32% in the last week. So we've got some outperformance in the free copy version, which is not bad. Not bad at all. So anyway, what else did I want to cover? I think that's about it. I'm going to have to start making stuff up to cover here in a minute. Making up stuff to talk about. I hadn't done this in so long. It's probably been 4 or 5 years since I've done one of these. So I need to think about what else is going on. I wonder if my Twitter works. Let's see what Richard Hart is talking about. No, I don't feel like signing in. I wonder if I can look and see if he's got any tweets that have shown up. See what he's doing with our bags. Might not be able to view it without logging in. This looks old. I don't think this is even current. Yeah, that's old stuff. So, anyway. The chat is mostly empty at this point, aside from talking about silver going to pump. So this has mostly just been kind of a test stream to I'm gonna look at my volume also in a little bit and see how the volume is working. See if it's coming through okay. Otherwise, I can't think of much to talk about anymore. I used to run these streams when I would run them so long and I would be able to just talk infinitely. It was mainly because I was just responding to questions in the stream, and I've been out of this for so long that I'm probably not going to have a whole ton of folks that are in the comments looking to talk, but not like the old days at least. But very surprised to see where XRP has gone. XRP has really blown away a lot of other coins in the last year or so. And I don't know if that's sustainable. I don't think it's sustainable because I think the fact that it could be. I bet XRP is putting in a cup and handle as well. Let's see if we can XRP just by bet XRP is putting in a cup and handle because it seems like it's right near the 2018, 2019 high. This is crypto cap, market cap, actual coin. Put XRP USD and see what that brings up. Oh, I forgot to talk about the most important thing of all, bonds. Oh, how could I forget? Let's look at XRP for a minute. I'm just curious, and then we'll talk about bonds, which is the actual market that matters. Okay, so look at that. Look at that. Perfect double top right there. Let's get a line on it. Horizontal. So that's a pretty nice line right there. And probably draw an arc into it as well. And it's not very symmetrical of an arc, to be honest. It's kind of a goofy arc. I don't know if I would, I don't think this is the way. There it goes. That looks a little better. A little. But not a lot. But a little. You know, if this thing comes around and flounders for a bit more, you know, it could be an old school cup and handle. If it, let's see if I can draw it. I'm supposed to hold it there. It could really do something crazy like that. That's what these cup and handles generally do. That's what gold did, for example. Gold put in a cup and handle like that. And see if that happens. I don't know if it's going to, but you have the bond market, which is what you gamblers should be actually interested in. Because if you have options contracts on these interest rates, you can make crypto like gains, no question. So if you're right, at least if you're right and your timing is right, but interest rates up here are quite high. We're at 4.9%. We're at the highest level since 2008, right before the market crashed the last time. And the last time interest rates plummeted down to about 2.5%. That was back when our debt was a whole lot lower. And then interest rates cratered around the COVID era from 3.3%, cratered all the way down to 0.7%. And the difference being that now the debt load is much more massive than it ever was. So it seems like where's my cursor here? I believe personally that the resulting move in bonds is going to be very, very serious, extremely serious. It's going to be the move of a lifetime, really. I believe that. Could be wrong, but that's what I believe. And man, so whenever you have the interest rate here, let's see, it's at 4.9%, and it drops down to this trend line, say 2.5%. That's a double in, or a 50% drop in what am I saying? That's a 50% drop in rates. Bond prices are going to move up substantially. And if you can catch that move with something like an options contract, you can make a tremendous amount of money playing that move. And I don't think a lot of you understand how options contracts work. But this is behind my head. Bring this up. Yeah, a lot of that's behind my head. Let's close this. Close this. No, it's not behind my head. But I do think that I think these interest rates are going to go way, way, way down. And when they go down, you've got tickers like TLT, GovZ, Zeros, This is what always happens. This is what always happens. I need to log into TradingView to make this work properly. Let me see if I can do that. I would like to talk about these different charts and different ways to invest in them. You know, there's some folks that are extremely where was I? There are folks that get one track minded onto cryptocurrencies such as Hex, for instance. They think that that's the only investable asset. And the truth of the matter is, let's assume that something like Hex goes to $1. There's only so much of that stuff that you need before you start overexposing yourself. And let's get this. You know, that's a neat little. So what I've drawn here, all these red lines, these are when the Federal Reserve has started cutting interest rates, cutting interest rates, cutting interest rates. And you can see here, this little red area here, this little red bar. This is where they started cutting interest rates again. I'm going to get rid of this halo. And normally this is where, yeah, I've gone way back looking at this stuff, trying to gauge how far down interest rates are going to come. And you see a clear pattern here, down, down. And the reason is because there's not a lot of demand for credit at these rates, because these businesses, especially like small businesses, they can't make money borrowing at these high rates because their margins are so low anyway. And the government has financed bad businesses for so long that they've distorted the market. And now you've got these bad businesses that are dependent on these loans to operate, on these low interest loans, and they're starting to have problems at these levels. And then on top of that, you've got the tariffs that just came out, which just throws fuel on the problem, a lot of fuel on the problem. So I do expect these interest rates to collapse. It's very obvious how this administration feels about interest rate. Look, Donald Trump attacks Fed after no change in interest rates. It's I will demand that interest rates will drop immediately. And then you can look at some of the stuff that Donald Trump said in 2019. Trump castigates Fed's Powell for not cutting interest rates. But even as far back as 2019, Donald Trump said that he wanted interest rates to go negative. That was pre-COVID, and I don't think I'm allowed to say COVID in these streams. Oops. I didn't say that. But anyway, Donald Trump wants negative interest rates. Can't find it right now. I probably have to go to Google News to find that. But when you have negative interest rates, what that means is this line goes down. This candlestick goes down. That's what that means. And there's an inverse relationship for those who don't understand bonds very well. There's an inverse relationship between bonds and interest rates, bond prices and interest rates. So as these interest rates here fall, you're going to see the price of bonds go up. And we'll look at something like TLT, for example. TLT is one of the most highly traded ETFs, or just tickers, period, in the world. And you can see how, I'm adjusted right now for, my TLT right now is adjusted for interest. Adjusted, there it is. There's my adjusted button. All right, so now this is the raw. The reason why you have an adjusted button here on TradingView, my head is actually in the way. Let me Let's see if I can move it. So you've got this adjusted button here at the bottom right. The reason you have that is because these bonds, they pay interest every year. So if you own TLT, you are getting interest payments just by owning it. That's how bonds work. That's the incentive to hold bonds. It's supposed to be the incentive to hold bonds, or it's one of the incentives to hold bonds, but the structure these days is so strange that sometimes there's incentive to hold bonds, even if you're not getting paid anything for them. So when we go to the adjusted figure, you see that the chart slope changes a bit because this interest is compounding. So if you owned TLT back in 2003, the interest has compounded up to make the asset a total of $87 at this point. We're going to turn the adjustments off though. And when you turn the adjustments off, you can see that TLT is just absolutely destroyed. I mean, it is just bottom of the barrel. It's back at 2007 levels. And then you can see what happened during the Great Financial Crisis. You can see it rallied quite hard. It rallied up to about 120. So it rallied from 84 to 120. Now, if you can time that properly and you know how options work, you can absolutely get crypto-like moves off of something like that. The way so for instance, let's say September 2007, December 2008. That's about a year. So in the options market, they sell something called a leap. Let's see if we can find TLT on here and show you the options and talk about how much money you would have made in 2008 off of buying options on something like TLT. And there's another thing. There's some similarities here to crypto in some ways we can talk about. So in the crypto market, what you're doing when you're investing is you're hoping that an Uber driver who doesn't really understand finance very well, you're hoping that he comes in to buy your coins from you at a higher price. That is how the game works. It's a game of musical chairs. You buy your coin that does nothing. You hope that somebody comes in to buy your coin that does nothing later, and you're hoping that they pay you a premium for it. That's it. So the difference between that and bonds is with bonds, you're hoping that the entity which issues money comes to buy your investment. So you're not hoping for an Uber driver to come buy your investment. Not that there's anything wrong with Uber drivers. That's kind of a general meme for who's buying a lot of these tokens. In the case of bonds, you're waiting on the US government to come in and buy from you. And there is a very strong history of the US government coming in and purchasing these bonds anytime there is a crisis. And we can get it a little deeper into why we believe the crisis is coming. And I think I will get into it because that will extend my stream out quite a bit. So we're looking at TLT options right now. And so let's take this out to January 2027. This is called a long-term option, or a leap. And when we look back around, so a lot of the indicators in the economy that we're seeing right now were very similar to what we saw in 2007 and 2008. So we started seeing issues in the housing market. We started seeing issues with business and several economic indicators that we can get into later. But it's a lot of there's a lot of similarities to what we're seeing now. So let's say in this time period of 2007, you bought a call option for pick somewhere halfway in the middle, $100. Let's say you bought a call option on $100, and then you sold it at $120. So that means for every option or for every contract that you buy, you're going to be able to buy the shares for $100, even though the price of the underlying asset is $120. So what that means is that you will pocket an extra $20 per share off of those options. Now, the thing is, the reason why this is magical and where the magic comes in is you don't pay a lot of money for the privilege of buying those shares for $100. So let's go look at current TLT options. This strike right here, this is the price at which your option would be exercised at. So let's say right now you buy the option. Well, let's go a little crazier because I think this stuff's going to go parabolic. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see 100. Let me get more. I think this goes actually to 150. No, all strike prices. This is 145. I don't believe it. But anyway, let's get silly with it. Let's do some silly math. Let's see if I can get a Google calculator. Yeah, y'all can see that, I'm sure. Good. So let's say that the end point on this option contract, what they call the expiry date. The expiry date is January 15th, 2027. That means that I think that by January 15th, 2027, we could see extremely high TLT prices, like even as high as $180 or even higher. So let's just do some moon math real quick. I know crypto folks they love moon math. So let's assume that by expiry, the price of TLT goes to $180, and you bought call options for $145. What that means is that when the price of TLT is 180, that you can go into the market and pay $145, sell it for 180, and then pocket the $35 difference. And all you have to do for that privilege is you have to pay 60 cents per share. Okay. Let's do 145 divided by 60. $241. That's the kind of leverage you're getting on your money. You're getting extreme amounts of leverage. And it's not margin leverage. I'll tell you, never, ever use margin. Ever. Because when you use margin, you end up subjecting yourself to a whole lot of risk. Extremely high TLT prices, even as high as 100. Just checking my stream on my phone, and it is working. That's cool. That's really cool. So let's assume. Actually, I need to share this to Twitter. That's what I used to do. Let me share this to Twitter, so we can maybe get some folks hopping in here. It would be nice to get some folks in here asking questions, because asking questions, they really. There we go. All right, I got it posted to Twitter. So cool. So maybe we'll get a little bit more feedback as well. But that's the kind of leverage you get when you buy these things. 60 cents for the option to buy at 145 to sell at 180. So if that trade actually works out, let's say you invest $5,000, 241 times 5. If that happens, there's no way that's right. My math is wrong. It's easy to get your math wrong doing this stuff. Anyway, I'm in social talking mode right now, and it's very difficult for me to shut my talking side off and do the math to figure out what the gain is. I can do that later. But long story short, the gains are very high if TLT does run the way that I think it's going to run. And for that to happen, and it's happened before. This isn't an uncommon thing to happen. But I surely think we could see something like we could see something weird like this. You could just see it blow off. It wouldn't surprise me. It looks pretty. It's pretty far down right now. It really is. And the key is the timing. The key with these options is you have to have the timing right, or you lose all your money. That's the downside. Because that option to buy at 145, well, it's a limited time offer. There is an expiry date, and it really surprises me that more folks in crypto aren't very understanding of how options work. Because a lot of times you have a lot better fundamentals than you do in the crypto market, which is generally just waiting on an Uber driver to buy your bags. And it's just not always great. Mr. YM80 says, good texture. Man, why are you running a stream the same time as David Levinson? You know, David Levinson blocked me. He does not like me because I called him out during a live stream. I called him out on some nonsense. And you know that I like to do that. You know that I like to call people out on their nonsense. That's one of my favorite things to do. And look, Tamara has entered. Tamara has entered the chat. I was talking about Hex earlier. I have been talking about Hex, but David Levinson, he blocked me because for so many reasons. And one is it's strange. He doesn't understand options contracts at all. He said that quote unquote you can't make money in options, and I'm saying to myself, I don't understand that. Like, how could you say that? Why would you think that you can't make money in options? He says nobody does that. He's very misguided on a lot of things. I like a lot of what he says, but a lot of what he says I'm not super keen on. Tamara, what are we going to talk about, Hex? What is there to talk about? I've looked at the chart. The chart on TradingView is kind of garbage. It doesn't have a proper. It stopped. Oh, look at my moon math there. Yeah, that's my prediction. Say, wow, look, it's actually happening though. Whoa, this is cool. Hey, I'm glad I pulled this up. I'm logged into my good texture. I'm logged into HexJita. Just followed me on Twitter. I think I've seen that name before. Yeah, this is cool. So I brought up this old moon math hex chart that I drew, right? This is cool. It's actually following what I said it was going to do. So I drew these little yellow bars. Let me see if y'all can see that on the screen. My head's in the way. Let me scoot it over a little bit. There we go. So you can see these yellow bars. I drew them. Let me turn them green so you can see them a little better and bring them to the front. Visual order, bring to front, and turn it dark green so you can see it a little better. And then get rid of the opacity. See if that helps a little bit. And then I'm going to turn my candlesticks a different color. Symbol. Let's turn the body of the candle kind of a dark gray. Actually, let's not do that. Let me cancel that. I'm actually going to turn my bars into lines. Turn that into a line. There we go. All right. So when I drew this chart back in, oh no, this is why I said I didn't want to do this, because so TradingView has stopped updating their hex price completely, which is terrible. Somebody needs to petition them. Yeah, so this actually doesn't make any sense because they stopped updating their price feed in December of 24. So yeah, what is this? What is this? Delisted. TradingView has delisted Hex Crypto. Delisted alert. This is no longer publicly trading, so no new data will be added, but you can explore the historicals here. Okay, so TradingView has delisted Hex. We have been gatekept by TradingView. Nice. Awesome. Okay, well, so much for that. I can't go over that because we've been uh, gatekept again. Wow, incredible. It's too bad. But anyway, I've talked about Hex. I don't really know what else to talk about with it other than you stake it and you forget about it. I was going over interest rates though, and I need to go over some of the economic indicators that show that interest rates are looking to take another dive. If anybody has any questions about Hex, I'm happy to talk about it though. But otherwise, I think I've talked myself out on it. But these interest rates way up here, combined with the tariffs, are not incredible for the economic cycle. They're not incredible. The Donald Trump has said he wants interest rates to come down, and I think he's going to. What else to talk about? There's other things. I've started a new. And I'm trying to make this stream as long as possible. That's my goal, just to run it out as much as I can, regardless of if it's coherent or not. Um, in 2022, I started this new diet. I know y'all know I've been interested in health and dieting and stuff like that. And Tamara says you can use Dex Screener. That is correct. But the thing about Dex Screener is they don't go back. They don't go back. The history with the original hex, not the free copy, but the original, it just doesn't go back that far. It only goes back to maybe 2024, 23. I'd like to see something that goes all the way back to 2020, and they really clip the history, which keeps you from drawing any meaningful charts. I don't think there's anywhere that you can actually get a full chart on original hex anymore. Why is this not working? On search. There we go. This site is bogging my old computer too. Actually, this computer's not that old. It's just really cheap. I got my good one sitting over here, but I don't do this for work. I don't use it for stuff like this. All right, so we've got all these hex coins here, all these different markets, and let's see, where's hex ETH? That's what I'm interested in. That's one of the hex WETH. 24-hour volume, 138,000. That's a good clip. Hex to die, 193,000. Hex to BNB, $45. Okay, that's not much. Okay, so that's not a bad market. The big market on the Pulse chain is it has 664,000 daily volume. I'd like to look at this Ethereum version. I still think that it has a better future. Could be proven wrong on that, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. I have both, so I don't really care either way. But I think there's a lot of reasons why this Hex on Ethereum has a good future. Let's see. Well, this one goes back a little further. This actually does go back a little ways. How far does this go back? It goes back to 2021. That's actually a lot better than I was thinking. Nice find, Tamara. I was really, good call. That actually gives me the data that I need. I didn't know that it went back that far. Let me get my head out of the way. Pull this out to the weekly. Let's see if we can draw some handy dandy lines on this thing. Where's our magnet? Actually, let me change the landscape here a little bit. This. Let's expand. All right, that's good enough. That gives me a little bit of working room. Where's my magnet? Give me the strong one, not the weak one. And give me a line to work with, and you're set. Oh, this is good. This will give me something to play with. All right, let's turn that thing down a little bit and lengthen the line out. Let's extend it to the left, extend it to the right. And of course, I'm not the only person that's drawn this chart. I'm sure this is the most popular chart in the Hex ecosystem right here. And it's really hard to say because we got several false breakouts on this line. I mean, just a ton of false breakouts on this line. We got 1, 2, 3. This could be the 4th false breakout on this line. And we don't look at, there's no volume. I mean, the volume's anemic. So it's really hard to say where this is going to go. I don't know. I think it's a good wait and see opportunity right now. Let's see the last false breakout. Let's see how long it lasted. Kind of give us an idea of how long we could wait for a confirmation. So date range here all the way to here. 84 days, so about 3 months. So you've got about 3 months per false breakout that you have to wait before you can really figure out if it's going places or not. And I would say in this case that points to July. So if history continues to repeat, then you've got to look until about July for this move to either solidify and keep moving forward, or for it to peter out and go below the trend line again. Now, the interesting thing, though, is we have Richard Hart, who has been coming out of the woodwork. We've been talking about Richard Hart's been talking about the SEC and how he won against the SEC and stuff like that. So we're going to see if that's going to provide enough fuel for this thing to run. Is this it or not? I don't know. I think that some of the headwinds that Richard faces right now, and the reason why he's not doing live streams, is because he's still got the red notice from Interpol, and he's got some probably fraudulent tax evasion thing. And I appreciate the compliment, Tamara. I'm going to try to drag this stream out for a while, just because I haven't done it in a while. This is the first one in like 4 or 5 years, and when I was in New York recently, I stayed there for 5 or 6 months, and yes, Mr. YM80, I'm doing this on Starlink. How did you know? Did you see a tweet of mine that I was talking about Starlink? This is on Starlink, and I think it's running really well, actually. I'm super impressed with the Starlink setup. I mean, just super impressed. I have not had any problems with it, and hopefully y'all aren't seeing a bunch of glitches or anything. It is time of day. It's 7:39 right now. It is time of day where everybody else starts watching Netflix and stuff like that. So it does kind of bring down the latency a little bit, but I think overall it works pretty good. I can't remember what I was talking about now. Talking about Hex, something about Hex. I don't remember exactly what before I got off on Starlink. But this is my first time streaming in 3 or 4 or 5 years. So I'd like to. When I was in New York, I was working out there. And I had people tell me, because New York is a very theatrical oriented place, and I had people tell me that I needed to go into voice acting. And it's not just one person that told me that; it was multiple people that told me I needed to go into voice acting. And so I never really followed up on it, but it was nice to hear that. And I've heard from multiple people that I have a good voice and need to do more streams and stuff like that. So um, and I got a lot to talk about. I really do. This is me, and it's not that hard. For my mind has changed. I'm using this OBS software, and last time I used StreamYard because I heard that OBS was too hard to use. And I just installed this OBS and had it working within 5 minutes, and it seems to be working just fine. So uh, I like this. I like y'all being able to see my screen, and we can focus on something else rather than just me talking. Mr. YM80 says a slight video delay on your face feed. Does that mean that there's a mismatch between the video and the audio? Is there a mismatch between the audio and video? Like they're not overlapping properly? Because this computer that I have is super freaking slow. I mean, it's really slow. It's got like a Celeron processor or some garbage in it. And yeah. Oh yeah, and Richard Hart, and Interpol, maybe I think he's not streaming because honestly, as a former cybersecurity professional, I think that he might not be streaming because he doesn't want to run the risk of doxing his location. Okay. So probably whenever you stream, you're hooked into YouTube, and if you stream with all sorts of VPNs and you stream with all sorts of IP hiding type apparatuses, you're going to mess up your latency and you're going to have bad service. Okay. So part of the magic of Richard Hart is his streams are extremely high quality, right? I mean, his visuals are stunning, number one. So, number one, he may not have access to the stunning visuals that you're used to. He may not have access to the props that you're used to the chair, to the candles, to all this stuff. Number one, he may not have access to all that. He may not have access to his what we would call an office. Okay. He may be far away from that. We have no idea where he is. And if he's hiding from the government, then he's just not going to have the extravagant visuals that you're used to. And let's really be honest, a lot of the magic in crypto is the community and in the allure and in the visuals. And when you've got Richard who uh, he doesn't want to present himself without that stuff anymore, I believe. So that's why he's got this. There were some keys in this video that he did recently. He had an all black shirt on. He had an all black background, and this was supposed to convey the idea that he's incognito. Okay, this is supposed to convey the idea that he's hidden, that he's locked away from everyone. He's not wanting to be in the limelight right now. And that was what his clothing was supposed to convey, that he's trying to remain hidden on purpose. And I feel like he's probably not in his home office that he's used to. Let's be honest, that place was raided a long time ago, most likely. They probably raided his place. It's probably it was probably abandoned. He probably abandoned it before they came. Let's be honest, we probably knew that they were coming, if I had to guess. And so, yeah, he's not streaming because number one, he doesn't have access to his office. He doesn't want to reduce the wow factor because everybody knows that he's interested in the wow, the popping. He's got this stuff where he's spending all the money on the bags and the Lambos or whatever it is that he does, and the watches and the diamonds. He's all about presentation. And if he doesn't have access to that office, he would rather not present at all because he doesn't want to demean his character. Okay. And so you've got that option. Plus, you've got the whole notion that he's going to have to run his live stream through VPNs and through all this kind of stuff. And you know that he doesn't want tech glitches. I mean, who would want tech glitches? I've seen him experience them before, and maybe he experienced tech glitches in the past. because of VPNs and things like that. But there's a whole lot of reasons why he might not want to do it. I'm gonna go back here and turn this off because it's eating up my processing power. I don't have a whole lot of it on this computer, so let me get rid of some of these. We can go back to deck screen later if we want to. Here's my welcome to OBS page. I wonder if Hex is still censored from CoinMarketCap. I saw some comments in the chat. I'm gonna go back to them in just a second. I'm trying to uh, lessen the load on this computer a little bit. Let's see, I bet they don't have Hex on here still. Oh, there's something. It's not ranked properly. At least it's there, but it's ranked 3629. I don't know if that's very accurate. Number 3628. That seems a little on the low end. And it's got a warning here saying that the CoinMarketCap team has not verified any of this. So still gatekeeping. You know, who's surprised? Still waiting on Richard Hart to come back from the abyss. Okay, Mr. YM80 says OBS is doing a good job prioritizing audio. I appreciate that. I appreciate you chiming in and letting me know what's going on. Tam says great points. Makes complete sense. I wonder if I guess with StreamYard I can put comments on the screen. I guess with OBS I don't know how to do that yet. That's okay. Do I think that Richard can be convicted on charges and face jail time? You know, it really depends. It's probably very possible just because of the corruption that might be involved. I mean, think about it this way: like in Europe, you don't even have free speech. Like you say certain things, you go to jail. It's not like America, and, you know, and he opted to live in one of these kind of Scandinavian countries that does not value free speech. So could he go to jail over something like that? Sure, especially if it's an inside job, especially if there's an inside job of people looking to put him in a box, people that don't like him. Of course, you know, people get falsely imprisoned all the time, and I highly doubt that he actually did anything that would be considered immoral. As you know, they kind of got him on some weird charges, like, you know, the go-to charges are uh, usually sexual oriented because it's got a shock value to it. So I doubt he did any of that stuff. But, you know, I don't know. I wasn't there, but I think until he gets the Interpol stuff out of the way, until he gets and they didn't just throw one charge at him of tax evasion. They had to throw tax evasion on him and some kind of sexual violence charge or something like that at the same time. And the fact that they did both of them as a double whammy instead of spacing them apart when they were discovered already shows you that there's some kind of deception in there. Like, it doesn't make sense for them to do both of them at the same time. Like, you normally prosecute and charge somebody at the time of the offense. So you're telling me that he just magically happened to commit tax evasion and some sexual charge or violence or whatever it was at the same time? It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. So, um, anyway, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, some economic numbers though to support my bond hypothesis. Let's see what GDP now looks like from the Atlanta Fed. So they just printed a negative. They just had a negative GDP print. Well, that's interesting. For Q2, Atlanta Fed is now estimating a positive 2% growth. So that won't come out until June or July. So that's interesting that they are projecting. Now, the range of the top 10 and bottom 10 average forecasts ranged from 2.5% to negative 1%. I would think that the negative 1% would be more likely. And usually over time, this Atlanta Fed estimate is probably going to trend down. It's still very early in the estimation cycle. It says right now that they are estimating a 2.3% increase. So if that's correct, and they do have a 2.3% increase, then the NBER Association will officially not declare a recession. But if we go below this 0% bound, then we will officially be in a recession by July, which is interesting because that kind of correlates to some things in the hex chart. I think over time we're more and more starting to see some correlations between crypto and the mainstream financial sector. To my surprise, it's kind of surprising that we see that. It's taken a long time to develop, but it's there. Tamara says that the whole Interpol thing is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I think she's absolutely correct. I don't think there's a lot of truth behind that. MRYM80 says, I haven't seen you in David Levinson's streams lately. And the reason I haven't been in his streams is because he blocked me. He didn't like that I called him out on some nonsense. Do I still follow his forecasts? No, I don't, because he blocked me, so I don't even follow him at all. And maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. He says no recession. That's interesting. I'd be curious as to what his views are. Let me see. He was telling everybody to buy XLU. Let's see what XLU is doing. I think XLU. He wanted everybody to buy utilities and finance over the last year, and they have gone sideways. Okay. He also wanted people to buy, I think, XLF. I think. Let me check this. It's the financial. He told everybody to buy that. Huh. That hasn't been amazing either. Looks like it's gone sideways as well. So David's top picks. He also said XL Health, maybe. Let's see if I can find the list of all this garbage because it's all lumped together in Yahoo Finance. XLF, which is the financial sector. XLU, which is utilities. He likes all this XL stuff. XLE, I think that's another one he talked about. Maybe, I can't remember. I'm sure he would argue that he didn't do anything of the sort. He's one of those kind of guys. He can never do any wrong. And if you call him out on something wrong, which I did, he just block you for it. He's not really interested in assimilating new information. And that's one of the things that I look for really strongly in people. Does this person have the ability to assimilate new information, or are they only interested in stroking their own ego? And a lot of times, I hope this isn't bogging my computer down too bad. These charts are not super efficient. Okay, so XLE. So if you bought XLE when David was shilling it, you've lost money. Awesome. The healthcare sector. Let's see how his healthcare sector is doing. Okay, if you bought XLE when he was shilling it, you lost money. Right. So his picks look pretty terrible from the end of last year. I don't trust the guy, honestly. I don't. The fact that he talks about the hidden we, as in he has a conglomerate of analysts behind the scenes that are working to verify everything he says as some kind of gospel. That's an alarm bell. to me, on top of the fact that I just looked up everything that he shilled 6 months ago, and every one of them is down. And he might not even admit to that. He might not admit that everything that he shilled has lost money. He says, "I see why he blocked you." No. 6 months ago, Mr. My 80, he was shilling XLF like 6 months ago or eight months ago. I don't know if you were watching him 8 months ago, but he was absolutely shilling XLF. You may not have been there. I was there. He still says rates. I don't have an ego, Mr. YM. I don't have much of an ego at all. I care about the truth. I care about what is real, and that's it. If it means I'm wrong, I don't care. It makes no difference to me if I'm wrong or not. What matters is that we get the correct information and that we're able to make money off of it. Me being correct means nothing. I don't have the ego that he has. Nothing close to it. And that's part of why people have appreciated my views on things, is because I can turn and change my opinion on a dime. Whereas people like David, they do not have the ability to assimilate new information if it means that they were wrong. It's terrible. Um, yeah, I think rates are going to zero too, or sub-zero, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to come without a recession. I think that there's a lot of indicators that show that recession is near. Maybe it doesn't. You can call in if we can figure out how to do it. I don't know how to use the software. I'd be happy to route you in though. I don't know how to use OBS really. Uh, Not closely. 8 months ago. I don't know what that means. I don't know how to route people in. I knew how to do it on StreamYard. I definitely don't know how to call anybody in on this though. I know maybe I can figure out how to do it at some time in the future, but I sure don't know how to call in right now. But anyway, it's interesting to see GDP now. It looks like they're looking for no, they agree with David. I mean, what David's doing is he's essentially just agreeing with the Atlanta Fed and saying, "Oh, the Atlanta Fed says no recession, and I agree with them." And maybe they're right, maybe they're not. They're usually pretty accurate, but it's so soon in the cycle that it's hard to tell, and especially with all this tariff stuff. And I don't know if y'all have seen what's happening in trucking, but I'm curious what if there's anything in the news about trucking, because trucking has just been getting absolutely obliterated. I mean, just destroyed. Interstate traffic going down. I was on the road a little bit this weekend, and I was paying attention to diesel prices, and I was paying attention to the amount of trucks at the rest areas and at truck stops and stuff like that. And it was not packed out like I remember it. Several years ago, during the trucking boom of like 2021, you couldn't find park. There you look around to see if the truckers are able to park, and there's nowhere for them to park. And now there's plenty of parking spots. There's no problem at all. There's parking spots everywhere when I saw this weekend. So there's definitely a trucking downturn right now, and you can usually gauge how the wider economy is doing based on trucking, and trucking just does not look good right now. In fact, it looks the worst that I've seen it in years. It looks the worst that I've seen it in years. So I'm not sure how to reconcile the idea that we're not in recession while trucking is literally crumbling. That's a problem. He did tell you were a bit early with your leaps in the summer. Yeah, he may have said that. I don't remember, but I trust you if you remember him saying that. And they were early, and I've had to roll. I've had to roll all of those leaps out. to 2027, and those 2027s may be too early, you know. And if they are, it's going to keep buying more. That's the nature of the game. You make the best decisions you can, and if you're wrong, then you either give up or you double down and you keep going. And I know how the folks in the hex market do. These folks just keep doubling down. Price keeps going down, they double down more. At least they have something. The problem with leaps is when you double down, well, your leaps are gonna go to zero eventually. But that's the price you pay for that massive exposure. You know, if you're getting 250x leverage on some of these leaps, um, I'm not leveraged that hard, but it's certainly possible to do so. Then you're gonna lose money as time goes on. And you say no ego. Yeah, I don't have an ego. I want people to be recognized when they're wrong. And David, he said options. He just basically said that they don't work. And it's total nonsense. Like, it's crazy. He said Mr. YM says that the Atlanta Fed model is notoriously volatile. You know, they actually nailed this last release for Q1. They nailed it. You know, they they said that we were gonna on negative, and they nailed it. So see what happens again. Enigma says, "What are your stock and crypto picks?" It's a great question. Um, we can talk about some of the more volatile stuff. Like one of the more volatile ones that I'm interested in. It may have a future. It may not. Uh, I'm not totally sure if it does or not. Is this Hex crypto? There is a lot of money sitting on the sidelines in this Hex crypto, like something to the tune of. Let me see. How do we look it up? Richard Hart Sack money. Let's see if this brings anything up. See how much money he's got. SEC. There's a website called like Richard Hart uh, funds.com or something like that. I can't remember what it is. But he's got like 250 or 300 million dollars. This says he's got 700 million. I think it's probably closer to about 300 now. He's got like 300 million dollars just sitting there doing nothing. And it's very possible that, and I think that he is, I think that he could take this money and redirect it back into his own ecosystems. So he could take this money and redirect it back into his coins, try and boost the price on them. And he could do that with Hex, Pulse Chain, PLSX, Inc. And he's going to get a muted effect if he does that. That's why I'm not super big on Pulse Chain. It's just because any type of capital injections into those markets is going to mute the price appreciation in the original Hex coin, which, by the way, there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of sell pressure. So Richard is extremely aware of sell pressure in his coins and crypto. And I think some of the least sell pressure is in the original Hex because a lot of people have already gotten out. And everybody who's been onboarding since Pulse Chain was released, almost all of them are onboarding onto the Pulse Chain version of Hex. Okay. So I think Hex has an interesting position. Another crypto that I'm interested in is reserve rights, RSR. I'm interested in this because their goal is stablecoins, and this is a governance token, and the governance token. This, by the way, Peter Thiel. I don't know if you know who Peter Thiel is. He's the guy that like he's a vampire. He drinks blood or something. think he helped start PayPal with Elon Musk, maybe, I can't remember 100%. And he is also involved with Palantir, which is they do government contract work, among other things. It's one of those kind of inside companies like BlackRock. It's one of those companies that just kind of gets everything right. Palantir is one of those. Peter Thiel is one of those guys that just kind of gets everything right. Um, anyway, he's backing this crypto. He's got a lot, probably a good bit invested in this, and anything that has to do with stablecoins, I'm looking at it because that's how you get real commerce in crypto. You get real commerce in crypto through stablecoins. You're not going to really conduct e-commerce with Bitcoin or Hex or any of these. They're more gambling tokens because there's no stability in them, and it's just a problem. I also, this is an old favorite of mine that I actually helped establish this coin at a few points. Is Zcash. It's an encrypted coin. It's one of, I think it's the only encrypted coin. Well, it's 104 right now, but I think it's the only coin in the top 100 that is. Let me search the top 100 real quick. I think it's the only coin in the top 100 that is focused on real privacy through encryption. So I'm scrolling through these. I don't see anything. Now there's Monero. Monero is supposedly a privacy coin, but I don't think it's actually private. It is a decoy, a decoy generating token. I don't think it has true privacy. It doesn't use encryption. It uses like this game where you have a bunch of cups and you shuffle them around and you shuffle them around and you shuffle them around. And what they have to keep doing in Monero is they have to keep changing the protocol to increase the number of ring signatures in this mixing game because it keeps getting de-authenticated or de-anonymized. It's ultimately an insecure protocol, in my opinion. Ethereum, of course, has the crypto tornado or the ETH tornado in it that can do some real encryption using ZK snark technology in the way that Zcash does. But it's not, I don't think it's as clean, anywhere near as clean as what you're dealing with Zcash. Now, the upside of Ethereum is you've got massive amounts of liquidity to get massive amounts of money into the system and out of the system. It's a number two token. Where Zcash doesn't have that kind of liquidity, but um, Bitcoin was at one point in the same situation, and look what happened to the liquidity there. Yeah, like I'm looking through these, I don't see any coin to my knowledge that's encrypted from the bottom up in the way that Zcash is. Now, Zcash currently does have some level of um, encryption by choice. So you have the choice to de-anonymize yourself. And that's kind of an introductory feature, and it can have its uses. Like there are some uses to having a public ledger. But Zcash is more focused on the encrypted side and not having everyone in the world. I mean, can you, I work in the financial sector, and I can't imagine our clients having all of their transactions. A common transaction in banking is called the ACH, the automated clearinghouse. I can't imagine the automated clearinghouse being public where you can just go on a website and look at every automated clearinghouse transaction that has occurred publicly and openly. It's absolutely insane. Um, True finance doesn't work that way. I mean, and I'm surprised people haven't figured that out yet. But Zcash has the potential to mitigate some of those problems. It may not do it tomorrow. It may not even do it in 5 years. But I think it's possible that technology like Zcash does have room to run, because from a technical perspective, just from a technical perspective, it is superior to Bitcoin. It even has higher throughput. It has higher transactions per second. It has real encryption. It has all these uses that Bitcoin just doesn't have. And so it's one of my favorite cryptos as well. And stock picks, I really like. I like GovZ. It's not really a stock, but it's a ticker on the stock exchange. I like GovZ a lot, and it looks like absolute garbage right now. It's making new lows. 941 was the previous low in 2023. Dang. I mean, it looks like, from a purely technical perspective, it looks as if it could break down from here, and maybe it does. And I would buy it. The economy can't sustain interest rates being as high as they are. Like Zeros. Zeros is very similar to GovZ, and it looks like it's also setting the potential for new lows as well. 65.15, and it's going back to 2011 levels. Zeros is very cheap, and I think Zeros could see new all-time highs. The Treasury fella, Bessent, and Donald Trump both want for this chart to moon. That's what they want. They want for this chart to go up. And there's all sorts of commentary out there. Some people think that there's some more. You can look at IEI, something like IEI, which is a little safer. Some people say no, you're not going to have Zeros go up. You're not going to have GovZ go up. That you're only going to have the short term bonds that are going to go up. I just don't. I don't see. I don't see it that way. Could be wrong, but I think the long term bonds are going to rally. But this is all of these are bullish. IEF, IEI, GovZ, TLT. Here's TMF. TMF is a TMF is low. TMF decays though. I think underlying TMF is probably a lot of options contracts, and because of the expiries involved. Well, see, this isn't bad though. Well, that's actually not good. Let me get a better chart. I'm curious how TLT is holding up versus its lows. Okay, so back then in the lows it was $39. So it's making new lows. So you've seen since October of 23, you've seen about $2 worth of decay. Actually, I want to pull this up and show you, just because this is something that I've been wanting to look at for a while, and now we've established some more history. TMF is a really interesting one. It's a 3x leveraged version of TLT, and TLT is just 20-year government bonds. Part of my reluctance with TMF is the decay. I don't like the decay. I think that it's something that weighs on people's conscience, kind of like options weigh on people's conscience. But we can look right here and see how bad the decay really is. We've got a front row seat to it right here. So let's check it out. See if we can find anything. Okay. Actually, I can get a weekly chart. I'm way too zoomed out. We can maybe even get a better chart than that. Let me make sure I'm not adjusted. I think I am adjusted here. See, some of these charts, you can have them what's called ADG or adjusted. That's when they factor in the dividends versus not. Okay, this one does not have dividends involved. So let's see if this is viewable. All right, so we've got TMF back here. It would be nice to have TLT overlaid. Put TLT on top of it. What time is it? 8:15. Let's put it a new price scale. Want them to interlope too much. All right, so we can see from TLT. TLT had lows on about October 16th, roughly. Let's get a flat line in here. Get a horizontal line. And draw that right there. Let's make that thing a different color. Let's make it green. Let's make it a little thicker. Let's see what's going on here. All right, so it looks like TMF is making new lows. Whereas you see TMF with TLT, you see 83 then at the bottom, roughly. If I can turn this into a candlestick. Candle. There we go. Let's get the candle action going. All right, we got candle action on TLT down here. And this scale between TLT and TMF, this is not really anything to pay attention to. I just have them sitting beside each other so I can see them distinctly. There's not a real relationship here, so don't worry about that. Let's see if I can delete this buy sell button. I don't need that garbage. I'm not buying and selling at 8:30 at night. And so we've got TLT hit a low of 82.55, and we're currently at 86.25. So it's about a $4 difference. Okay. So TLT is currently $4 above its recent low. All right. So $4 over 82. Let's see what kind of percentage we're looking at. So if we're about 5% off the lows in TLT. We're still 5% off the lows. Let's remember that. Now, with TMF, we're sitting here looking at the low being 38.30. And why is my line here not showing up? I would like it to. Anyway, I don't remember how to do it. I don't feel like figuring it out right now. And right now we're sitting at 37, about 37.43. Okay. So 38.30 down to 37.43. 38.30 to 37.43. It's 86 cents below the all-time low, divided by 37.43. So that's 2.5%. So we can add this 2.5% roughly to this 4.8%. So that's 4.8. So it looks like we've had a decay of about 7% in TMF since October of 23. 7% decay, if I did my math correctly there. 7%. That's a little bit, but it's not terrible. So that's 567 days to get that 7% decay. Okay. Hmm. That's a good bit of decay, 7%. Let's go ahead and I want to write 7% on the screen here. 7% of decay in TMF versus TLT since October 2023. I'm glad we did this calculation because it's something that's been on my mind. 7% of decay is not amazing. It's not horrific, but that's That's some serious decay, folks. And I'm not sure what your decay rate would be if you were buying extremely far in the money options. I'm talking about options with like a strike of 50 or something like that. You're going to get similar leverage to TMF buying those in the money options. Not exactly, but sort of ish. It's worth thinking about. 7% of decay. I don't know what to think about that. I've got to think about that. I got to think about that for a while because it was harder to do. See, it's easier to do this calculation right now because we've been so kind of sideways since that point. Whereas when you look way back, look at what TMF came from. I mean, it's just gigantic, a gigantic move. Let me clear out the TLT, hide that so it's not. I mean, look at where TMF has come from. I mean, it's come from just the stratosphere. And you've seen 7% decay over 567 days. So 567 divided by 365, 7% per every 1.55 years. So that means you're looking at about 4 to 5% of decay, about 5% of decay per year. 5% decay per year. So if that means since 2020, that would be 25% decay from the top. So we were at about 570 back then. Actually, I'm going to do 365. Let me think about this. I have a hard time doing math on one stream, but roughly about 5% decay. And so that means that your $500 here at the top is probably worth closer to 400. Yeah, that's not terrible. That's not horrific. It's really not. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna go back to the chat and see if anybody's talking about anything in the chat. That was really insightful about TMF. You want the move index below 80, and bonds will start to work. The move index is even at right now. If it's on TradingView, we have a move index. Looks like a bunch of crypto stuff. Move index. Sometimes TradingView will have these strange indicators. Sometimes they won't. It doesn't look like they have this one. Can't look at it. Tech itself doesn't really gain traction, does it? It needs branding, community, etc. No, tech in crypto means nothing. Crypto does not run off fundamentals at all. Crypto doesn't run off fundamentals. It just doesn't. It's all about the cult mentality. It's all about the community. It's all about the social situation. Because the thing about crypto is there's always going to be a better tech. There can't be a situation where one coin always has the superior tech. Tamara says, great stream. I appreciate you. Enigma says, why is GovZ in such a bad downtrend? In the past, when rates were cut, it doesn't seem to have reacted to the upside. Well, I've got it here. It's actually not even strange. Usually when interest rates get cut, you see some goofy things happen. It's like, here's for an example where we saw these rate cuts right here in 2019. You saw interest rates fall a little bit, and then they spiked up for, let's see, September through January. So they spiked up for about 4 months. What we're seeing is a little bit more substantial than 4 months. But I've drawn in all the rate cutting cycle stuff here. 2008, you saw these cuts, and bonds just, the interest rates just kind of went sideways for a while. It wasn't an immediate change. Here's another example. Back in 2000, I mean, you have interest rates just rate cuts through the floor. So every one of these red lines that I've drawn is a rate cut. And I mean, the rate cut just went to freaking really low. And bonds just, at first, they rejected it and even rallied. And then look at this time in 1999, you had rate cuts. And then bonds rallied for years. Look, I wrote brutality right there. It's freaking brutal. I've looked at all this stuff. I've looked at the past of what happens. And the rate cuts aren't necessarily one-to-one correlated. I mean, here you've got a general downturn back in 1991, 92, 93, but sometimes the correlations are a little weak. And so we can't necessarily draw conclusions that bonds are going to rally immediately just because of rate cuts. There can be some lag in there. I do ultimately think that bonds are going to rally. Question is when. Do rates have to go negative? Do rates have to go negative for GovZ to reverse trend? No, I think by the time rates are negative, GovZ will have made new all-time highs. And, GovZ could be above $30 by then. We could see those. If rates go negative, I would expect to see TLT over 200. Etc. What do you think of RFIX? RFIX? I don't even know what that is. Supposed to have less decay. Simplified Bond Bull ETF. Supposed to have less decay than TMF. Where are you? Where are you, Bull? Bond Bull. This looks new. This thing must have just been created. Oh, it was. It was created in December. Let's view this RFIX. See what RFIX is. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. This is the wrong one, but let's go anyway. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention because I've never heard of RFIX. Now that we're in Yahoo, let's bring it up. This doesn't bog my machine down too bad. Yahoo is kind of bloaty. Interesting. No yield. I think TMF actually pulls a yield. So that's the first negative that I see about it, but it's only got a 0.5% expense ratio, which is very low. Very low indeed. Let's do a little bit of comparison here with TMF. I'm also curious. I bet this is a 2x. I bet RFIX is a 2F. Yeah, so the thing about TMF is it's pulling down a 4% yield, which a lot of people really like that 4% yield. And which kind of negates. So if TMF is pulling a 4% yield and we just said that it's doing a 5% decay per year roughly, then that yield on TMF can actually counteract the decay as long as yields are high. Now, during 2020, when yields were low, that wouldn't have been true. But for now, that's true. Expense ratio on RFIX is low. This yield may be incorrect, though. We would need to double check that. We need some better information. I want to find out what type of leverage is on this thing too. Simplified Bond Bull ETF. It doesn't tell me what kind of leverage it is. I need to go to their website. Let's see. Somebody's telling me in the chat. No, nobody said anything in the chat. So I'm actually going to run down the rabbit hole here. Let's see more on RFIX. RFIX bond ETF. Let's see if we can find some more info about this thing. Simplify.us. Let's see if they give us a little bit more financial information behind this bad boy. What? This fund primarily holds position in long-term expiry 5 to 7 year interest rate options. Interesting. Using OTC derivatives. This is interesting. It's designed to be functionally similar to owning a position in long-dated call options on U.S. Treasury bonds. Who made this? Harley Bassman. This is interesting. I've never seen anything like this. Okay, so it makes sense that it wouldn't pay any interest because you're actually holding call options. I just wonder what the long-term ramifications are going to be on this. Like how bad is this thing going to decay? Well, somebody in the chat said that it doesn't decay that much. I don't know. Let's go back to the chart and see. Let me see. It's in December. This thing was 60, and today it's about 50. Let's see how that compares to TMF. So that's about a 15% drop in December. And then with TMF in December, we were at 50 down to about 37. That's about the equivalent. Okay, so it's not sustaining any type of loss, anything different than TMF. So I'm assuming it's probably similar to TMF in the gains as well. It's probably going to run similarly to TMF. This is really interesting, and with its low expense ratio of 50 cents, that's really interesting. RFIX. I'm going to add this to my little app in my phone. I've got an app here that tracks a bajillion different tickers, and I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on this RFIX. That is really fascinating. I assume it's going to run similarly to TMF. I assume. I actually don't know how 5 to 7 year expiry. They're like ultra leaps. I don't know how those. I don't know what the premiums are on that thing, and I guess they just keep rolling them. I guess they keep rolling these things. I don't know. It's interesting. It's not gonna move like a 2027 leap. It's gonna move a little softer than that, but still. The Simplified Bond Bull ETF seeks to hedge rate movements arising from falling long-term interest rates and to benefit from market stress when fixed income volatility increases while providing potential for income. So it sounds like they are betting on long-term interest rates to fall. You know, that makes sense. That's why they call it a bond bull ETF. So they got a fact sheet. I'm just curious what's in this fact sheet. See if there's anything in here I can read. Initial investment in a 7-year OTC receiver swaption, which functions similarly to a long-term call option on the 10-year U.S. Treasury rate. Okay. So it's definitely going to have less volatility than a call option on TLT, significantly so. Option expiry and strike rate are chosen to maximize significant positive convexity while also minimizing cost of ownership via theta and time decay. Interesting. These guys have really thought about what they're doing. And it's interesting that they've got this call option on the 10-year treasury, because that's exactly what these people in the government are interested in the most. They're most interested in the 10-year treasury rate. That's what they want. Let's Google that. Besant 10-year treasury. That's their bread and butter. That's what they care about the most, is the 10-year. Yeah, here it is right here. Besant says Trump is focused on the 10-year treasury yield. That's what these guys care about. They care about the 10-year treasury yield. He mentioned it 5 times in an appearance at the Economic Club of New York. Interesting. These guys may have done some research. And the reason they're using OTC derivatives is I don't think there's any liquidity for these types of, because so a 10-year would be what, like IEF, I can't remember, IEF or IEI, one of those ETFs. And you can look at the options market for those financial instruments, and the bond markets are just atrocious. Well, they're using OTC options. There's not a lot of liquidity in those things. This is a financial invention for sure. Swaption on SOFR. Damn, out to 2032. Looks like with Goldman Sachs, they've got that. A couple with Bank of America, Morgan Stanley. Interesting. Very interesting. Hmm. I'm gonna watch this for sure. I like that this prospectus is being a little. Thanks again for the shout out about this RFIX. Unique access to OTC derivative payoff profiles that are normally only available to institutional investors. Provides a simple and more efficient way to obtain significant duration exposure. It's wild. These things are going out to 2032. But see, here's the weird thing. It's mostly just holding T-bills for stabilization and diversity, which is not much to it. These instruments that they're using, they must be hella crazy volatile, because it's only making up for like 1.5% of their total holdings. It's really something. Okay, let's pass to the chat. See what's going on in the chat. Man, that stuff intrigues me. I could sit there and read that all day long. Sorry if that's boring. That really interesting. There are good YouTube videos on RFIX from the issuer. Interesting. Leho says crypto runs off corrupt MMS. I'm guessing that means middle marketing schemes. Yeah, you're kind of right. Yeah, it's basically a multi-level marketing scheme. It's exactly what crypto is. Crypto is a multi-level marketing scheme. It's like Amway or something. What you got to do is make sure the next Uber driver buys your bags. As long as you got that going on, you're good. Everyone dumping U.S. bonds doesn't matter. The people that print the currency are going to buy it from them. So they can dump all they want. It really doesn't matter. You have an infinite money printer available. That's the right one. Simplify ETFs. Leho says see y'all at 97 tonight and 93 tomorrow. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what coin or whatever he's talking about. Mr. YM says that I think the guy that made RFIX is the same guy that made the MOVE bond volatility index. That's interesting. It sounds like he knows what he's doing. He says, no, the T-bills are for income, that it's going to pay out close to 4%. That makes sense. I see what you're saying. But that's a huge portion. That's a really huge portion of the whole thing. I mean, look at the allocations. The allocations are gigantic. It's only got 1% allocation to these swaptions. I'm going to be honest, I've never heard the word swaption before. What that means is that's probably a swap on in an option combined together, I guess. It's a swap on an option. That sounds highly leveraged. I don't know what that is. I'd have to look it up. But the fact that they're making an exposure to it is fascinating. And like I said, I'm trying to make this stream as long as possible, just because if I'm gonna go and talk about something new soon, if necessary. I guess this has been more of a financial stream. I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about health in this stream or not. This one seems more financial oriented. I wonder how long it's been on. If this is, yeah, we're at 2 hours, so I'm actually pretty content with that. I'm actually content with 2 hours. That's not a bad stream length. I might kill it there. That's a good stream length. What else do I have in mind? Do I have anything in mind? We solved a lot of problems. We talked about decay and TMF. We learned about RFIX. I think that was a good stream. That was very productive. We've also got, I don't know if y'all have seen, but Monetary Metals is going to release a gold-backed crypto token that pays interest. Saw that on Twitter. It doesn't look like YouTube has figured it out yet, but anyway, it doesn't exist yet. It's from Monetary Metals, which is Keith Weiner's company, which is an amazing company, and they're going to release a gold-backed interest-bearing crypto token that bears interest on real loans. Okay, not this DeFi, let me print new tokens out of thin air that don't finance productivity. No, these tokens are actually going to be loaned out to gold miners and jewelry producers, and they're going to produce real goods and real services, and that interest is going to get paid back to shareholders. So that is the real deal when it comes to finance, and very exciting.